Hello, I'm Eddie Bozio. We're here at BAFTA, hosted by the TV Collective, talking in conversation with Damian Jones.
I'm just interested in terms of when you decide which films or which writers you want to back and whose projects you take forward, how much you're thinking about the audience and whether it will find an audience. And I sort of talk about that from a sort of TV point of view, because in television we're sort of always concerned about who our audience would be. And is that the same with film?
Yeah, absolutely. Even more so. And the longer I've worked at it, the more, I mean, probably just my own, awakening, but, you realise that, basically no one's going to give you any money unless they think, there's an upside to it, be it on, in Curzon small release or, there's, will that bring the art house crowd in? I made a film, thank you.
Here come the rolls.
Called Powder Room that I actually financed myself with some lockbox BFI money. We made it for like just over 100 grand and had a great cast, and it was a sort of messy girls' night out movie. And, Sheridan Smith and Una Chaplin and others and Jamie Winston. And it's really fun. It's really fun. And I think ended up on Sky eventually. But there was a movie that it was based on a play that actually was from Edinburgh called When Women We. And that fell between the stools. The multiplexes thought it was too raunchy and too small, and the art house cinema chains thought it was too commercial. Yeah. And so we ended up sort of making about 5p at the box office. So we thought about the audience, thought we'd get, an audience in, but, analysis completely failed. Belle was financed, it was a 6 million quid, I think. Sounds like a lot of money for a period movie. That's no money at all. They ran their numbers. They were like, we can sell it as a Jane Austen-esque period romance in these territories, and we think it'll do this amount on DVD, and, it'll get the grey pound in, as they call it now, from the Marigold Hotel, and then the Jane Austen and the schools. And fortunately, it really struck a nerve in the States, so actually everyone has benefited far more than they thought. This film I've just wrapped is Dad's Army, the sort of reimagining of that series with a new cast. And that was hugely debated amongst all the UK financiers about, and we still don't know the answer in terms of its eventual commercial success and whether reimagining that brand has been a great idea or a really stupid one. But at the moment, everyone's really positive because of the press reaction to it. But that was all about, is there an audience? Anyone seen Mrs. Brown's Boys? So Mrs. Brown's Boys was a huge success as a film. Universal, who released it, told me this. They, I think Westfield Stratford is the most sort of most commercial cinema in London, and so basically, if you're at number one at Westfield, you've probably got a hit. Mrs. Brown's Boys was like over the year, on average, like number 50-something, which you would think would mean it was a complete turkey. Mrs. Brown's Boys made all its money in mid-England and the north. Right. They packed it out, and there's an audience that was ready. Don't often go to the cinema, but that series they watch on TV are big fans of, and and some marketing, distribution person knew that. Yeah. That's why that film got made. If they'd just been listening to London, it would never have got.
Hi, my name's Donna Marie Dow. I'm a screenwriter. The question I had is, there's kind of a lot of talk and a lot of rhetoric that black films, it's a niche market and they don't sell, but you've kind of proved the opposite. You've had a lot of success with a lot of black and urban films. Can you tell us a bit about how you go around getting money for that?
I don't know if I can tell you anything that anybody doesn't know already. Just got to have a great story. I've been fortunate. I was introduced to Noel Clarke. Kidulthood as a script was just fantastic and unique, and was like, I'd been living in the States and whatnot and just come back and was looking for something to get my teeth into, but it was the writing. The writing was really strong, really unique, and just a new voice. I, was led to believe, and it was the case, that it was an authentic, depiction of certainly his upbringing and where he grew up. I mean, everybody turned that movie down. Everybody turned that movie down. UK Film Council, Channel 4. That was partly because Noel and the director, were the easiest. But, they were very, opinionated and had a really strong vision, and it paid dividends. But no, it was eventually made for private equity. The exhibition, the cinema owners were not horrified. They could not believe what happened with that film. They were like, because all these teenagers were flocking to the cinema to see stuff, and still to this day, it's sort of a cult, classic, and spawned the sequel. That hit a nerve, so that was sort of luck of design. But I take no claim. That was Noel's vision, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And we continued the association with Fast Girls, but that was just a sports. That was a feel-good sports. It didn't find an audience. It found an audience eventually on television. And I think what we did wrong there, we pitched it too old. We should have pitched it to sort of 12-year-olds and down. But we pitched it to sort of savvy teens who were like, not interested. They were like,
But going back to Kidulthood, because you knew that was strong writing, but how do you convince, like you say, the foreign markets, like the European markets, that this is going to sell? How do you do that?
You don't make it for that. We made it for a price where it only made sense in the UK. And actually, ironically, that's exactly what we've done with Dad's Army. Dad's Army, we've made it for a price that reflects the value that is perceived in the UK and Australia, and there's Scandinavia and Benelux. So it's gravy after that. If it does play as a standalone comedy, fantastic. But no, they've hedged their bets. So you have to find the right budget level for your project.
I'm Bybreen. I'm quite interested in how you balance the tension between creativity and the commercial side of filmmaking, and then the different types of business models that can support a film project.
Oh, it's never easy, but I've been fortunate to date that I've never had a complete sort of division between the finance and the filmmaker. Maybe once, but the film was very good. It's sort of getting to know you. It's like a relationship. So I do feel that you once you have your partners, be they financial or creative, everything has to be discussed and open. Actually, I've made a film that I think the financiers thought they were making one film, and the director thought he was making another. And that turned into hell in post-production. So I wouldn't make that mistake again. But it's just, I always put people in the room together. I don't claim to. I'll front the project, I'll sell it as much as I can, but, you've got to meet the filmmaker and talk to them, and, it's their vision at the end of the day, it's not mine. Or it's our collaboration, but they're the one who's going to execute it. So, I know it can change. And it is, it's not a science, things do change, or an actor's performance takes it in a different direction. The way I like to work is, for sharing information and just being upfront about it. You have to sometimes choose the information to share, but creatively, most of the time you want everyone to be on the same page, because otherwise it'll get nasty later. And business models, they keep changing. I've made 30-odd films now, and you would think they would follow a pattern, but they really don't. I don't know if that's due to the lawyers and all their fees, having to reinvent the wheel each time, but it is amazing. I don't really work, I'm an independent producer. I don't work in the studio system that much, so they don't fully finance my movies. Even Dad's Army, which is Universal, is not fully financed by Universal. There was crowdfunding involved in it.
But is there a rise in private equity in terms of financing films?
I think there is, but it's just as conservative. It doesn't...
Oh, OK.
I find, as in it, they're coming from the city, I'm always a bit nervous of private equity, actually, if it hasn't done it before, because they come in slightly naive, not in their business plan, but in their sort of their expectation, and you have to sort of manage it carefully, because it doesn't add up. The film industry is really, that's why the studios do their franchises and stuff, because they think that that recognisable brand, they can regurgitate it, and that makes and there's there is some truth in that, but even those run out.
So as an independent, how do you go about financing a project?
Well, you
go to the bank?
You go everywhere. Literally, you go everywhere. That's what I do. Obviously now I have relationships, hopefully, you know, good ones with people who've been successful with films I've worked on or produced, and you know, I know where to go, but you know, if they all turn you down, you need to be able to just keep going. So, you know, this time round, I went into my first EIS just tax scheme back movie with Dad's Army. So that was the first. You know, you go to sales companies, you go to the studios, you go to the mini majors, as they're called. You sort of go to everybody whose business it is to invest in films, and hopefully you get some or all of them interested. And then you're probably going to need another component somewhere, be it the BFI or... I mean, here you would always start... If you have the BFI and the BBC Films or Film 4, your film will probably get made. It should get made, because they can do it between them. But to a UK distributor and a sales company will pay attention if those two bodies are already interested in your film.
Hi, I'm Leon Jean-Baptiste. I know we've touched on it a bit already, but I wanted to ask your opinion on audiences and distribution with regards to more diverse or black films. Because as an avid cinema goer, I've noticed we're told a lot of the times there's not the audience for them type of films, where in my experience, sometimes there is, but the actual film isn't actually put into the cinema. Fortunately, I'm from North West London, Belle came into cinemas in my area, but other films that have come out recently, like Gone Too Far, haven't made it into cinemas in my area when there's people that actually want to go and see it. So I wanted to just hear your thoughts on that and what the way of tackling that is, you think?
It's not my area of expertise, exhibition, distribution. It doesn't answer quite why Gone Too Far didn't or didn't get its release it perhaps deserved, but I think it's in America, maybe it's just being introduced here, where you can actually, if a community or the residents of a certain area request a film, they'll play it. And that's something that's, I think, coming more and more the case with digital distribution now, or you know, that facility. So if you lobby your local Odeon or... I don't know, you know, it costs money, and they're probably looking at their bottom line. You know, they're probably going, OK, so if we, you know, distributor made Gone Too Far, you know, picked up Gone Too Far, they think they're going to make X amount, but to put it in those cinemas, they're going to have to advertise it, cost money, trailers, you know, print advert. So they probably just, you know, it's probably a numbers game at the end of the day. And they probably think that even if the screenings sell out, they'll probably still not make their money. They just go, you know, well, it's got a better life on, you know, as a TV premiere or a... I don't know what was the... I mean, it's not, you know, I don't know if that's the answer. I know it's depressing. You know, it also there may be something better out. I mean, you know, I haven't seen the movie, and I know she's a talented director. You know, I look at why certain films of mine never played, and at the end of the day, if the audience isn't turning up, then, you know, eventually you have to look at yourself, or I have to look at my own projects. You know, I've made films that I'm really proud of, but actually no one went to see them. And in hindsight, were they better on television, you know, as their platform? You know, I think dramas are really hard to make in this country unless you have a movie star. You know, we would not have got The Iron Lady made, which is another of my films, unless Meryl Streep had said yes. We wouldn't have made that film.
We had a question in from Jeff Bannis on Twitter about the quality of writing in Britain. We seem to have been recognised internationally. What's your view of the standard of writing in the UK at the moment, Damian?
Oh, I hate these general questions. I think it is screenwriting, I think, is definitely improving. From my experience, you know, we have there's excellent television writers, there's excellent, obviously, theatre writers, playwrights, and we have that whole heritage. Screenwriting is a different beast.
You sound cautious about the standard of screenwriting here.
No, well, it's hard to, you know, there are some great screenwriters. You know, I've been lucky. I've worked with Abby Morgan, and I've worked with, you know, Frank Control Boyce has just written something for me, wonderful writer. Hamish McCall has just written this wonderful comedy. But, you know, I think it's just hard to talk about it as generally. I think it's slightly a cultural thing, you know, America is more sort of versed in it because they sort of grow up with it differently, I think, film is a sort of heritage. But I do think it's changed a lot. But what I also find is that, you know, the British screenwriters who have real talent, and actually this goes with a lot of the directors too, you know, it's not that they get poached, but, you know, the other side of the pond, Hollywood calls and, you know, you get paid more. And so, you know, people get in demand and they're not available. And well, if they are available, you know, sometimes their price is slightly, you know, difficult to meet. So the talent goes to work where they can get the most work for the most pay, which is, I guess, probably pretty standard of most industries. And, you know, so a lot of the time they end up working in Hollywood, and good luck to them.
There's some talent around the table. We've got any writers with us at the moment?
Oh, yeah.
So, pitch away.
Hi there, my name's Waris Islam, I'm a writer-director. I guess my question is really, in the UK, we have public bodies like Creative England, Film London, that inspire the original voice or the filmmaker to make something fairly unique and original. In the US, writers tend to sort of write more genre, or certainly things that sell, that they're inspired to be a bit more mainstream. And I just wonder if in the UK, if being commercial is a dirty word, you know, because ultimately, for the industry to thrive, it's whether we can support a commercially viable industry with making returns on films, etc., as well as being original. But I find that in the UK, that isn't something that's celebrated. That's kind of my answer.
No, it's interesting, and again, I don't know if there's one. I certainly don't have one straight answer for that. I think commercial dirty word, no, but certain. I guess there's different definitions of that. And, you know, most genre movies, if we're talking genre movies, you know, I think it's fair to say, you know, there's normally some American involvement, while there's certain other, you know, UK financiers who don't, you know, their whole sort of raison d'etre is something, you know, high-end drama or you know, something slightly different. I mean, it's so hard to be general without, you just need to generalise when, you know, so Iron Lady, was that commercial? Yes, you know, it was hugely commercial, but was it originally conceived as being that commercial? No, you know, obviously with our leading lady and, you know, but there was a question about, you know, Thatcher, who would go and see that, etc. You know, I don't make, and this is part of my hesitation, I don't make action movies. You know, probably Dad's Army is my first broad comedy.
Action movie.
I like to see them, but I just don't know how to, you know, I haven't done a horror. I like to watch horror, but I am clueless about how you would develop. So in the world you're talking about, the writers who perhaps work in those genres, I don't really know because that's not my area of sort of films that I want to make. I like to watch them. I like, you know, I'm happy that other people are making them so I can enjoy them, but I just don't make them myself. There was one of the co-writers on Fast Girls, Jay Basu, I think has actually done rather well in Hollywood writing. I mean, he's commercial and doing well. So, I don't know, it's tricky and I don't... There's just no one answer. You know?
It's just a general consensus, I suppose, when I'm developing something that's slightly commercial, I get more attention, say, from my manager in the States. And over here, it's sort of taken apart. And I think one of the things I feel that, because there's no film markets in the UK, well, there's very few, the writer isn't, from the very early stages, sort of in touch or interacting with what a sales agent or a distributor would like at the end of the process. We're sort of very concerned about our original voice, which is a wonderful thing, but it's all just about the artistry. Whereas I think in the States, because there's a lot of American film markets and whatnot continuously, the writer from the conception level is already thinking about audience, you know, already thinking about a market and trying to... Because even the independent films are fairly mainstream too, not just the studio films. So I just wonder if that's just the DNA of the UK.
Again, it's tough. I think that after you have your first success, your first hit, you'll be meeting sales agents, and they will, you know, probably what you're pitching now, if it's the same as what after your first hit, you're pitching exactly the same thing, they'll be buying it. You know, it's all perception. It's all about success. It's all about what you've achieved. What, you know, the people who turned down Belle now want to be in business with all the people behind Belle. You know, I mean, and that's just the way it goes. But you know, that's fair enough. I mean, there's directors and writers that I've not given the time of day, and now I wish I had. You know, it's just how it goes.